Hello, in this video I have a game to show you in my Mahan, the Tier 7 US destroyer. And since I last showed this destroyer on my channel, I've actually managed to fully upgrade it. I'm about a third of the way to unlocking the Benson. And I still do like the Mahan, I haven't actually been doing that well in it compared to what I did in the Farragut. I find I don't quite do the same damage, and I think it's partly because enemy ships are just a lot heavier armoured. You don't fight as many light cruisers as you did, and the enemy battleships just have thicker superstructure and bow and stern armour. So you just don't do quite as much damage as with your high explosive shells as I was used to in the Farragut. But I still have quite a few good games in the Mahan. This one is on whatever the Aurora Borealis map is called. And I decided to go forward and scout for my team, and you see I've been spotted, so I start zigzagging. And there's only one type of enemy ship that can spot me, and that's a Japanese destroyer, simply because I'm stealthier than any other class of ship, or class or nation of ship in the game. And I still haven't spotted the ship that's spotting me. Which is odd. But either the enemy destroyer, it's a Mutsuki, and it's definitely a Mutsuki as I see 6 torpedoes coming towards me. So either that ship is very stealthy, or it's doing a very good job of running away from me to keep outside my spotting range. So I decided I'm not really keen for this, but I keep pushing forward just to try and spot the Mutsuki so that the ships behind me can start putting fire into it. But I'm just not going to be able to do it. I'm getting into a very dangerous spot now. If I go around the headland, I'm sure to get absolutely torn apart by enemy cruisers. So I push forward far enough to get a few shots off at this Nagato, which appears to be AFK, and then start turning back to rejoin my team. And with the rate of fire and firing arcs, I've actually got about 4 broadsides off there before the first one lands, maybe even 5, depending on how you count it. And as you can see, we're not doing any damage. As you see, battleships at this tier, they seem to have very thick armour, and you just don't do a lot of high explosive damage, but I did manage to start a fire, which I expect to be quite useful. So far I've managed to dodge all the return fire from a number of enemy cruisers, but an enemy destroyer off through the channel there manages to do about 2,000 damage to me. Don't get a chance to see what one it is, because I was too busy firing my torpedoes at the Mogami, which looked for a second like I was going to try and cross the channel, but instead it's pulling back. So those torpedoes are going to completely miss. And that is the Tashkent, the Soviet destroyer. So I'm going to go back and support my team against that destroyer. It's actually, I think, a kind of mistake here. Basically when I was forward like that, I was essentially screening my allied battleship from the Mutsuki. But when I go back even further to deal with the Tashkent, I actually let the Mutsuki get close enough to the battleship to launch a few attacks on it, or at least one attack on it, but possibly a few. And as you will see, my services here weren't really needed. So Tashkent's closing in on a New Orleans. I put a broadside into it, does a fair bit of damage, second broadside goes in, and the New Orleans kills it. But I think it's going to take a few torpedoes. You can't really go that close to Tashkent without suffering for it. But it looks like my allied cruiser has survived. So now it's time to get back forward and start screening that battleship much better than I have been doing. When I'm spotted again, which means the Mutsuki is close. Nope, it's not spotting me anymore. And there's its torpedoes going towards my allied battleship. So a bit of a misplay on my part there, but I don't think it did that much damage to the battleship, if anything at all. So I'm not too concerned. No, it's on full health, so no harm done. 2 enemy cruisers are pushing the channel, and they're in Nürnbergs. Not really a tactic I'd recommend when they know we've got a Nagato right here. They have spotted me. I did fire some torpedoes off in their direction, and since I'm spotted, I figure I might as well fire away with my guns, do what damage I can. Try not to run aground as well, would be very nice. Take a hit, but doesn't do a lot of damage. And my torpedoes actually look like they're on target. The fully upgraded torpedoes on the Mahan are capable of stealth attacks. They've got a 9.2 kilometer range, but only a 55 knot top speed, so they take a long time to reach the target. So I had to fire 4 more torpedoes off behind the Nagato here, just in the hope that they might hit these cruisers. And that was the Nagato's secondaries opening up. So obviously that battleship captain has the range extending modifications, actually probably the range extending modifications and the range extending skills, but it is really going to help out against those Nürnbergs. Actually that means, because that was opened up about 7 kilometers range, which means that this Nagato's secondary guns outrange the Nürnberg's torpedoes, which is very useful. And I'm also adding in my own kind of 2000 damage every few seconds, and it managed to get a torpedo on the bow of that Nürnberg and finish it off with my guns. Switch to the second one, which has already taken a bit of a beating from the battleship, but the first Nürnberg managed to get some torpedoes off. The Nagato's turning away. Very well played Nagato there, to be honest, but it's taken a lot of damage just from the guns of those enemy ships and those 2 enemy cruisers and the 4 enemy ships behind them. So the Nagato is probably not going to live very long, although it has managed to dodge those torpedoes. Again, a bit of a misplay here. I probably should have stopped shooting to re-stealth as quickly as I can, but I thought, why not just keep shooting away? Might do a little bit more damage to this Mogami. I haven't so far, but you never know. Essentially now I'm kind of all by myself in this part of the map. 2 of my allied ships have kind of pushed up the far eastern side, and the rest of my team's off in the west, and I've basically got the centre of the map to myself. And as you can see, there are, well, 2 enemy ships at least bearing down on me, and I was about to say the Mutsuki's still spotting me, but nope, it isn't. So the Mutsuki is somewhere, don't know where though. Not within, I think 7.6 kilometers is the detection range of the Mahan, so I know it's not within that distance of me. I fired off a couple of torpedoes at the Mogami. They aren't going to hit because we can see the Mogami is turning away from me. Basically I'm just kind of, I was intending to kind of run away and try and join my team in the west. I see this Cleveland is slowing down, then I see the Cleveland has basically stopped, so I decided to put a few broadsides in its direction, just because it's an easy target and kind of free damage. I thought it was going to reverse there, but no, it starts going forward again. And 1000 damage with my second broadside, 1700 with the third, and then the rest miss. Decided to give it a couple more just to see if I can get a hit or two, but at this range against a manoeuvring cruiser I'm very unlikely to hit. And here's that Mutsuki. But first broadside does a little bit of damage, managed to take out a gun. Second broadside takes out an AA gun and its engine. And we've set it on fire. And already that Mutsuki's lost a third of its health. Make that about half of its health. It's fixed its engines, but I doubt it's going to live much longer, to be honest. I'm turning away with it because you have to assume it's fired torpedoes at me, and I want to have as much time as I can to dodge them. And it's actually managed to dodge most of my shots there, but I managed to take out its engine again, and now it's basically doomed. There we go, the Mutsuki's dead. Bit of a shame because it played quite well, I thought, actually, until it decided to come in and fight me at close range. There's its torpedoes, but I easily avoid them. Then swing my ship around to fire some torpedoes at this Mogami, which is closing in on me. And there's an enemy Benson right here. I didn't realise it was going to be the Benson, I knew it was a destroyer. I was hoping it wasn't the Benson, because the Benson should be able to beat me in a one-on-one fight, and I've only got a third of my hit points left. But I managed to take out its engine, and one of my allies comes and does a bit of damage. Actually, something did a lot of damage to it there. And I killed a Tier 8 destroyer without losing very much in the way of hit points. I'm going to have to assume I didn't do most of the damage there. It must have been my allies firing at maximum range that wrecked it. But I just took a lot of damage from that Mogami. Fire off 4 torpedoes. Hopefully they will hit and take a big hit from an 8-inch shell from a cruiser. Actually turns out it was armor piercing, so I quite often fire armor piercing at destroyers, so good on you. And we'll just watch my torpedoes. The Mogami is travelling in a pretty straight line, so hopefully we can manage it. Looks like we're going to miss. Bit hard to judge through the smoke. Oh no, one hit. Just one hit, but it was enough to get me the sneaky little Confederate medal. Only 3 kills though, but yeah, of course we lost. The enemy was capping our base and there wasn't really anyone else around to defend it. The game did drag on for a bit longer, but it was a loss. I was best on my team. I beat basically everybody on the enemy team except for the North Carolina in experience, so I did pretty well. And what's that, 53,000 damage with my guns and 20-odd thousand with my torpedoes. So that's a pretty good game. It's much better than the usual ones I've been having lately, where I'll be doing 10,000 damage or, 10,000 damage from my guns and maybe a few thousand from fire, and then maybe a torpedo hit or 2. But in that game I kind of got lucky that, well, those Nurembergs and the Cleveland, they both gave me a lot of free damage with my guns. Because when I was firing at the battleships, I didn't do a lot of damage. When I was firing at the destroyers, I did a lot of damage, but they don't have a lot of hit points to spare. It was really only firing away at the Nurembergs and Clevelands that I actually got up that damage score. But sadly, couldn't pull it out in the end, just got completely overwhelmed in the cap circle there with, 4 enemy ships coming from that direction and 1 from the other. I was pretty doomed, plus the long-range fire support that eventually killed me. But yeah, can't win them all. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.